I'm really excited about this episode of Raddest Rides because I have picked some top tier vehicles for your 80s action figures. So, stick around. Hello fellow dorks and dorkettes and welcome to Nostalgia Syndrome. My name is Rob, and in this episode of Raddest Rides for your 80s action figures, I think I've compiled a pretty kick-ass list of vehicles for some of the toughest and baddest 80s action figures. I don't mean to pat myself on the back, but this episode has everything from 80s action movie stars, superheroes, to intergalactic heroes exploring alien worlds. So, without further ado, let's get to number 1 on the list. Our first vehicle comes from Coleco, and it is from the Rambo, The Force of Freedom action figure line that was released in 1985. This rad ride was called the Defender 6x6 Assault Vehicle, and it is an awesome Jeep that comes with, yes, 6 wheels, which the box states has lifelike Goodyear rubber. That right there is an awesome little feature that I loved. It's the one thing that I love about the Cobra Ferret for the G.I. Joe line was real rubber-like tires. That really goes a long way in making a really awesome vehicle. Now, an assault vehicle doesn't rely on wheels alone. It also has a large missile launcher that actually fires the tow missiles that are included. And on the side, it has a place where you can keep your extra missiles. It has an extra detachable rapid-fire M60 machine gun. It has a workable wrench. It has a workable wench. It has a workable wench. It has a workable winch on the front. Under the hood, it says it has a 42 cubic inch engine. I know nothing about engines or cars, but that sounds pretty cool to me. Anyway, it has a high-tech instrument panel and jerry cans on the back, and a bonus file card included in the box. Now, 1985, when this came out, Rambo First Blood Part 2 was in the movie theater, and the Rambo Force of Freedom cartoon was on the TV, so Rambo was everywhere. And I ate it up as a kid, and these action figures were some of my favorites. I didn't have any of the vehicles, I had plenty of the figures, but I would have loved to have the 6x6 in my collection. Our second Raddest ride comes from Galoob's Black Star toy line, released in 1984. Now, this vehicle is a spaceship. It's a very simplistic spaceship, but it's very cool and it gets the job done. Now, just real quick, a factoid. Black Star's toy line didn't even come out until 3 years after the cancellation of the cartoon. Yeah, it's a pretty sad thing because the Filmation cartoon was very good actually. But Galoob moved forward with the toy line so many years later just to pretty much cash in on the popularity of Masters of the Universe. Now, the cartoon, of course, ran sporadically in syndication here and there, but I think a lot of people remember this fondly because of the toys more so than the cartoon. Anyway, back to the spaceship. Like I said, this spaceship is very simplistic. It's white, it has stickers that you can apply to it, but it's missing one thing that I think is very obvious, and that is a canopy for the cockpit. Now I know John Blackstar is a pretty tough dude and he could probably hold his breath while he's jetting through the solar system, but it's kind of weird at the same time. Now the only action feature that this has is rocket launching missiles, which are a unique style because I guess they didn't want anyone to poke their eye out. So they were more like a asterisk on the front. I guess that gives it like a cool, laser blast effect, but it also saves a lot of kids from losing their eyes. Now, the one thing that this came with that I think a lot of other flying vehicles should have come with in the 1980s, a stand. Very simple, very plain, but there's a stand to put the spaceship on top of, so It looks like it's flying, and you could, put Black Star in it to be chilling out. Oh, and it has a section in the back for storage. I'm always a sucker for storage because that's just a really neat little add-on where, you could throw all your action figure junk into. Now, the story was Black Star was an Earthling in a spaceship that ended up on an alien planet, kind of like a lot of other sci-fi-esque, stories throughout history. So I assume this is his Earthling vessel that he used to get to that alien planet. So, when did the cockpit lose its canopy? Somewhere on the journey? Was it when he balked up and smashed out of it and just holding his breath and flying through the universe? I have no idea. But that's the one thing that kind of, deducts points to the awesomeness of this pretty basic spaceship. Our third entry comes from the Cops and Crooks toy line released by Hasbro in 1988. And this is the Cops Cycle. Again, like the spaceship, it is a very simplistic vehicle. It is a blue motorcycle with a sidecar. Now, if you look at the artwork on the package, which is beautiful by the way, it looks like Bulletproof is holding on for dear life because this sidecar looks like it has 0 safety restrictions. I mean, I guess they're the cops, so who's going to pull them over? But yeah, I feel really sorry for whoever is riding shotgun on this motorcycle. Now, it is very light on features, but the one feature that it has is what made the Cops toy line pretty awesome, and that is a cap-firing gun, which is mounted on the front. It also touts things like rugged construction, realistic details, and movable wheels, which, yeah, that's not a lot to write home about, but it's pretty awesome, like the spaceship, in its simplicity. And this was the main ride that you saw a lot of the characters using in the cartoon. Now, I apologize, because I say this a lot about a lot of action figure toy lines. And, I mean, heck, I said it earlier about the Rambo toy line, but the Cops and Crooks toy line was one of my favorite. I mean, I'm shocked that it came out in 1988, because I can remember vividly hunting down the figures that I wanted in the stores. In 1988, I was 12. I doubt nowadays there are 12-year-olds going out there hunting toys to open and play with right then and there. I mean, a lot of 12-year-olds have other things on their mind, but me, it's always been toys. But the one thing that I love about the Cops toy line was that they are pretty much scaled up G.I. Joe figures. I mean, they have crazy posability. Of course, at that time period, very awesome posability and different articulations that you only saw on the smaller scale, like the G.I. Joe figures. So, always one of my favorites. They were big, bulky, heavy, well-made toys, and one of my biggest regrets is that I don't have them anymore. Look for that episode in the future as well. Our fourth vehicle is a twofer, because this Mattel toy line loved to double up on the vehicles. One for the good guys and one for the bad guys. So I thought it's only right to look at both of them at the same time, because honestly, other than some paint applications and a name, they are the exact same vehicle. And those are the Doom Starglider and the Star Dart, which were released by, like I said, Mattel's Secret Wars toy line. Of course, the Doom Starglider was made for Doom's supervillain team, and the Star Dart was Captain America's awesome good guys team. Now, the Marvel Secret Wars toy line was absolutely one of my favorite at the time. Again, like I said, I say that a lot, but I just love toys, so sue me. Anyway, at the time these were coming out, I was just becoming a really hardcore comic book collector, and Marvel was my comic brand of choice, so I felt like these action figures were made specifically for me. Unfortunately, I didn't have that many of them because it was kind of a blink and they were gone, because the toy line didn't really go as far as it should have. Now, let's start with the Doom Starglider. Well, its play features were the same as the Star Dart, but it had awesome black and purple coloration, and it came with a Kang action figure. Now the box says this glider will, speed through the air, do loop-de-loops, and other awesome tricks, while a figure sits on top of it. I mean, it's not even like the G.I. Joe ones where the guy would go underneath, but the weight of that figure would always cause the glider to just take a header into the grass and eventually break. So I don't think that sitting the figure on top will make that much of a difference, other than them falling off. Now, like I said, both of the play features are the exact same, but the Star Dart actually came with a black-suited Spider-Man. So now that was pretty big at the time because black-suited Spider-Man made his first appearance during the Secret Wars miniseries. Now the Star Dart comes in a red, white, and blue color scheme, of course. I mean, it's Captain America's glider. I don't understand why it didn't come with him, but I noticed something that both of the gliders had, and those were gun turrets on their wings. That seems like another hazardous thing to put on a glider that you throw through the air, because that's just extra weight that will cause it to eventually take a header or smack into a tree and break. I mean, gliders are never a good idea. I mean, how many of you would just get a foam glider, or those, those cheap balsa wood gliders, or like action figure gliders? They don't last long, unfortunately. Our fifth vehicle comes from a cartoon series that was probably an introduction for all of us into the world of anime, and that is Robotech. This is the Veritech hover tank released by Matchbox in 1986. Now the hover tank was from the Southern Cross chapter of the Robotech series, and was the vehicle of choice for the main character, Dana Sterling. In its vehicle mode, the hover tank is very reminiscent of the Veritech jet fighter's Guardian mode, because its two legs are prominent, its arms are up with weaponry, which one of them, it says it has a retractable high caliber plasma cannon. That sounds pretty cool. While the other arm has a retractable multi-chamber rapid fire machine gun and laser projector unit. It all sounds very impressive. Now, and sitting on top of it, and in this picture, figure not included, is the little Dana Sterling figure. Kind of just sitting between its two, plasma cannon and machine gun arms. So she's just kind of hanging out between these two weapons of mass destruction without like a real seat or anything. So from the vehicle mode, you go into Battleoid mode, which is the robot form of all the Robotech vehicles. And I don't see a place for any figure to climb inside the chest or anything. So you kind of abandon your action figure to play with this awesome mech. And I mean, I have to be honest, it is a great looking robot. Now, its vehicle mode, is so-so, but the Battleoid mode, I'm all for. And let me just say again, I love Robotech. I didn't have any of the vehicles or any of the toys, but I was such a huge fan of the cartoon. I would have loved to have this. Now, I'm not even the biggest Southern Cross fan, but yeah, they had some very unique vehicles and mechs that you didn't see anywhere else in the Americanized Robotech universe. So I really dig it for its unique Battleoid mode, but that vehicle mode, yeah, that could use a little help. Okay folks, that was a look at 5 of the raddest rides in 80s action figures. This is episode number 13 in this series, and there are plenty more vehicles to look at down the road. Now, like I said at the beginning of the episode, I think this list is pretty awesome. I mean, these were a lot of course, my favorite, but also some really great action figure toy lines. Now, I know I don't do a toy hunt for the Raddest Ride episodes, but I can just tell you right now, with what research I did, all of these go for top dollar. Because on top of their awesomeness, a lot of these are pretty darn rare. So there's no chance I will get any of these rides for the garage here in the laundry room, but they are so awesome to look at and talk about. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you got something to say, please leave a comment. I love reading them and I love getting back to everybody. And if you're new around here and you enjoyed this or any of the episodes that YouTube is recommending down here, please hit subscribe. And if you hit that little bell icon, you will be notified whenever there's a new episode. So anyway, until next time, thanks for watching. Keep being rad and stay dorky.